Picture this. The year is 1807, and the most powerful man in all of Europe is running for his life across a grassy field. But he's not being chased by enemy soldiers or wild wolves. No, Napoleon Bonaparte, Emperor of France, is being chased by rabbits, hundreds and hundreds of fluffy bouncing rabbits. How did the mighty Napoleon end up in such a ridiculous situation? Just days before, Napoleon had won another amazing victory. He was the Emperor of France and had conquered most of Europe with his brilliant military mind. At only 38 years old, he seemed unstoppable. His armies feared nothing and no one. Napoleon felt like he was on top of the world, and he wanted to celebrate this latest triumph in style. Napoleon decided to organize a grand rabbit hunt to celebrate his victory. "We shall have the most magnificent hunt in history," he declared to his chief of staff. "Gather all my generals and officers. We'll feast and hunt rabbits in the countryside. After all our hard battles, we deserve some fun and relaxation." It seemed like the perfect way to unwind after months of serious warfare. Napoleon's staff worked hard to prepare the perfect hunt. They gathered hundreds and hundreds of rabbits. Some say there were over 1,000. But here's where things went wrong, though nobody realized it yet. Instead of catching wild rabbits that would run away when released, the staff bought tame rabbits from local farmers. These rabbits were used to being fed by humans, not running from them. The day of the hunt arrived, and it was absolutely perfect. The sun was shining, and Napoleon stood proudly in a beautiful meadow, surrounded by all his top generals and officers. Everyone had their hunting rifles ready. The wooden cages, full of rabbits, were positioned all around the edge of the field. Napoleon raised his hand dramatically and shouted, "Release the rabbits." This was supposed to be his moment of glory. The cage doors swung open and outpoured hundreds of rabbits, but something was very wrong. Instead of running away like wild rabbits should, these fluffy creatures did something completely unexpected. They started hopping straight toward Napoleon and his men. The rabbits seemed happy and excited, bouncing across the grass like they were greeting old friends. The confused officers looked at each other in bewilderment. Within moments, the rabbits reached Napoleon and his officers. They began climbing up their legs, jumping into their arms, and even sitting on their shoulders. These weren't wild rabbits at all. They were hungry farm rabbits who thought the humans had come to feed them. Napoleon tried to brush them off, but more kept coming. "This isn't how a hunt is supposed to work," he exclaimed as rabbits continued swarming around him. This was Napoleon's pivotal moment. The man who had conquered Europe was being overwhelmed by bunnies. He could have stood there stubbornly, trying to maintain his dignity while rabbits crawled all over him. Instead, Napoleon made a wise choice. "To the carriage," he commanded. Sometimes, even the most powerful person in the world needs to know when to retreat. There's no shame in admitting when a situation isn't going as planned. Napoleon quickly climbed into his carriage and ordered his driver to leave immediately. But even then, the determined rabbits followed the carriage down the road. Some even managed to jump inside before the door closed. The Emperor of France, who had defeated the greatest armies in Europe, had been conquered by an army of fluffy farm rabbits. His officers couldn't help but chuckle, and eventually even Napoleon began to laugh at the absurd situation. What can we learn from Napoleon's rabbit adventure? Even the most successful and powerful people face unexpected challenges and sometimes make mistakes. The important thing is how we handle these moments. Napoleon could have been embarrassed forever, but he chose to laugh about it later. When life throws you a curveball or a bunch of rabbits, sometimes the best thing to do is laugh, learn, and remember that everyone has silly moments, even emperors.